VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Yes! Follow the money. Paulie Howard, Mike Palm, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM, Channel 158, VSiN Watch app, live from Circa downtown Las Vegas. When we say eclectic mix, we mean it. Frank Schwab to talk NFL. Richie Baccellieri on a great college hoops card tomorrow. Also get into his 20, 30 years in the business, also booking. He has some great stories coming up. Lou Finicaro on UFC, Chris Smith to talk MLB and the Red Sox, Jonathan Davis, Four Nations, NHL, some futures as well. Nigel Seeley checking in, and I cannot wait. In an hour and 15 minutes, the Dirty Dozen, almost 30 years in the business. Don't be that guy at the casino. Let Mike Palm cook. Palm Readers Unite. I'm looking forward to that list, and you do all the legwork. How you doing?
Nice. Paul, the amount of prep work you put into this show was staggering. A month's worth of prep today. I'm very proud of you.
Okay, thanks a lot. It's good. It's good.
The shot on the front end.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's how you started. So I'll tell you, it's great you walk into news like this. I know it's a slow time with both NBA and NHL on break, but according to the Sports Business Journal, we could get the Super Bowl again in 2029. So we are in the rotation. We are the Mecca now. We're a Final Four. We're already the home of championship week, where we have 5 conference titles decided here as well. So we just had the Super Bowl. The report says we're going to get it in 2029. And then let's get in this rotation. Let's make this a regular thing out here.
Absolutely. And I think one you haven't heard yet, but behind the scenes going on, Big Ten Conference Championship games. They can't just keep them in the Midwest with the 4 West Coast schools.
Good point.
They're going to have to rotate it. Maybe every third year it comes west. Vegas is a great site for it. Obviously easier to do football. I know Indianapolis kind of has a lock on stuff, but I think within the next 5 years we'll get a Big Ten Conference Championship in either sport out here.
Yeah. So with the Final Four coming, likely an NBA team. I mean, this is fascinating how this became, small town, a 3-shift town, can't support anything. And then I remember I was terrified, though, that hockey was going to be first here. Because I thought it would fail. Who's going to support an expansion team that's going to stink for 3 or 4 years? And then the incredible, astonishing happens. They go to the Stanley Cup right off the bat, and the city falls in love with them.
I'm talking to Jeff Erickson the other day on my radio show in Chicago about I can't get my kid to have any interest in baseball. All he wants to do is play hockey and soccer. Right? I mean, this is a hockey town now because it was the original, and they did it right. I mean, Foley, they did it right.
Yep. What's the rotation? Is it Miami, New Orleans, and Las Vegas with an occasional Los Angeles? Or you want to throw a Tampa in there? What do you think? But it looks like we're in the mix now.
I think SoFi definitely stays in the mix.
Okay.
I think your SoFi, I actually think it's probably a 4 mix. And I think the main 3 are going to be New Orleans, Las Vegas, L.A., and you throw a Miami and you throw a Phoenix in there as like a 4 rotation, and they get it every 8 years, those other 2 cities I mentioned. That's what I would say. New Orleans has been the host of most of all.
Yep.
Right? But now it's all big domes, it seems like, and we don't play in the Rose Bowl anymore, and it's these newer dome stadiums. And so I think I think it's going to be a 4-year rotation with 5 cities involved, would be what I would say.
Did you talk to Derek? Anyone with the staff here about what this could mean, though, and how big this is?
He's so fired up.
Yeah.
He's so fired up about what it means to the convention business, to the hotel business. That's why we can get these rooms built and finish out these floors, because it's very necessary because of the pressure that it brings to the city in terms of visitation. So it from going from nothing to 100 degrees this quick is pretty remarkable.
Right, and we're cutting in line, too.
Oh, yes.
That we did so well, and now we're looking back at this and grabbing another Super Bowl, according to one report, in 2029.
I tell you, a big thing about this, where they pick these things, are walkable places, where the events can be close together. You know, they always say, if Dallas is great, you got Jerry World, but you got to drive 2 hours to get to each event. It's so far away from downtown. Here, it's very close. It's all 10-minute rides. New Orleans is the walkable, that's important to people when they plan events.
All right. Well done. What'd you think of the hockey last night?
I'm so fascinated by this, Paul. And I'm Jonathan Davis coming up in less than 2 hours. I'm all in on Canada. I've watched both. The price now got out of line. It was a pick pick going in. Now all of a sudden you're getting 140 or 145. The only advantage the Americans have is the goaltending. It's stunning, Paul. I went back and looked at this. When I looked at these rosters, I said, where is the Canadian goaltending depth? They've gone a generation without creating these great goaltenders. So I went back. Do you know 30 years ago, 81% of the goalies in the National Hockey League were born in Canada, and today it's less than 20%?
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's a whole generation has gone by where they did. People don't want to play goalie. I don't know. But the Canadian...
You think it's that big of an advantage? Did you see
America has a big advantage, except for one glaring thing. Hellebuck's never won a big game. This is not the regular season, Paul. Subban was right. This first goal was awful.
Did you see it?
And
I thought his rant was pretty good.
And what's your option? Fake Ace Ottinger? Mitch will say no to that, too.
Yes.
But Canadians are faster. They play together better. The power play is better, and they have the best coach in the world. I think they check 4 of the 5 boxes.
Yep, I agree with you. I know. And rooting for hard. I can't wait to watch it tomorrow. But I would have to lean Canada as well. And I know
I'm not betting tomorrow because it means nothing. They're going to meet again in the final.
No,
There's no way Canada's going to be. They play Finland their last game. They already beat Sweden. Right. So, I mean, there's no risk for Canada because they're going to beat Finland easily. Finland's the weak link here. Sweden's better than people thought. It'll be fun to watch tomorrow, but next Thursday the final will be.
You could have took advantage, though. After Finland got the quick one, it was USA was only minus 160 to win the game.
I saw it.
And then they rout them and take them out, and it goes off. So if you say that, and I understand where you're coming from, how about the total, 6.5 in some spots?
I think tomorrow you go over because I don't think they play with the intensity and the physical injury risk until the final game, which would be it's going to be like a gold medal match.
Yeah.
I can't wait for next Thursday.
Yep. Very good. All right. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And Paul, just to tell you.
Yeah, I'd have to go Canada.
And I discussed this with Stormy earlier. All these all-star games, which is essentially kind of an all-star, but nobody cares about anything betting-wise in any of the 4 sports except the home run derby. Now, if like Sabrina or Caitlin would have been in the 3-point contest, people would have bet on it.
Yeah, they blew that. That was ridiculous.
They blew that. But this here, we wrote 6 figures on both these games the last 2 nights. All right, and maybe we can get to $250,000 right next Thursday. I don't know. Tomorrow probably will. People will still bet it. But we had hundreds of people here in the book. It filled up the book both nights. Canadian fans and then USA fans last night. This is tremendous.
Can't beat it.
No.
When you're talking soccer, hockey, whatever, Olympics, or you're right. It's the nuts. We'll talk about the card coming up with Richie Baccellieri, who works here at Circa. He loves the trash. We'll go over the top games, and there's some great games tomorrow. I will say this first. A lot of people are, you were the first on this, a lot of people are now pointing out how good Drake is. And now you're seeing maybe a 10 seed, but now even John Fanta with the tweet, they are now 23-2 talking about this team absolutely deserves an at-large.
Well, that's what my concern is. Do they have to win the conference tournament? If they run the table to the conference final, that would mean beating Bradley again, which I think is the second best team in the Missouri Valley, and get to the final game and lose, they'd be 30-3, Paul, with 4 wins over Power 14. I think they got to get in. Mm-hmm. Now, last year it was a 1-bid league. Indiana State got shut up, but we had 6 bid stealers. Huge upsets in these small conference tournaments. I don't foresee that happening again. That's an abnormally large number of bid stealers.
Right. But and again, the history's against them, though. 6 of the last 7 years, it's been a 1-bid league, and they shafted Indiana State last year. It was a horrible job because everyone would have loved watching them play as well. And I'm with you. You win. I don't care what league you're in. You win that many games, you got to get an at-large bid, and the schedule's certainly favorable and doable the rest of the way. How about Alabama 1.5 and 172 against Auburn?
I don't know how you bet these games under. I mean, with the pace that these two teams play at, they want to play above the rim. I would probably only look at the total on this game, but it's going to be fun. A lot of people pointing out, and they're deservedly right. Mm-hmm. You can't put these games 2 hours on top of each other.
Well said.
So now we're going to watch the first 8 minutes on ESPN News, right? Because you had the game before it. It's got you've got to start scheduling them on the quarter hours with these incessant replays at the end of the game to put 0.1 seconds back on the clock.
We have this all the time in the madness, and especially championship week, where they don't space them, and then a game goes to overtime, and then you look and you got a game going till midnight. But you're exactly right, where how ESPN doesn't do this right, and Alabama and Auburn fans were on this from the get-go saying, get ready, the thing's going to tip on ESPN News. Yeah. So how they do this with the back-to-backs, you're exactly right. Are you taking Arizona then? Houston 1.5 at Arizona? You're not a believer?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't know. I like Calvin Sampson. Did you see what Calvin Sampson said about the Arizona program and how when he was at Washington State, it wasn't UCLA everyone on the West was aspiring to. It was Lute Olson, with Arizona. He paid proper homage. I don't think enough people know how good that program was. Should be a heck of a game. I thought Tommy Lloyd got out coached. They should have won that game at Kansas State, and I was on the other side. I felt very fortunate. Once Arizona gets the game tied with 3 minutes to go, I thought they're going to win the game, but they don't execute down the stretch. I'd lean Arizona here, but no play.
Yeah, okay. And then Purdue's 5.5. Illinois 5.5 against Michigan State. Ole Miss is 5.5 against Miss State. And Texas 1.5 against Kentucky with some of the marquee games.
Impressive game by Kentucky against Tennessee the other night. I didn't see that coming.
Can they do it again, though, right? And now they've moved up to a 3. Joel Lenardi now has 14 teams in from the SEC. 14 bids.
Paul, full marks and credit to Florida after beating Auburn to be able to go and do that.
They're a 1 seed now. He's got them up on the 1 seed. So this is, I can't believe that. But they deserve it, absolutely. But if you can get 14 teams in, and San Jose State in action tonight, 18-2-1 ATS run, I think Richie B might be on them coming up. VSiN fans playing your Vegas getaway. Derek Stevens offering you 15% off at 3 incredible properties. Circa Las Vegas, the D Hotel. Don't you dare sleep on the Golden Gate. The best deal in town. Get the suite over there. Great showers. Get the penthouse. Have a cookout with the barbecue. There's like 6 big screen TVs in there. It's phenomenal. At the Golden Gate Penthouse, all 3 properties are dynamite. CircaLasVegas.com, code VSiN15. Get 15% off. CircaLasVegas.com. Your Vegas adventure starts here. Some futures, some rumors, some news. Frank Schwab to talk NFL coming up on VSiN. Follow the money. The Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM, channel 158, baby.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big. We go all night. And here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
On the next The Numbers Game, it's me, Joe Serralo, still in for Gil alongside Kelly Bidlin. We'll be joined by Wes Reynolds to talk some golf and college basketball on the show. Plus, we'll hit the MLB futures market, including some division exactas that we're excited for, NFL early offseason awards markets, and some second-half NBA win totals as they return from the break. Only here on A Numbers Game, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Talk hoops with Richie Baccellieri coming up. Works here at Circa. Interesting fellow. And Stevie the Pencil. We'll go over the glory days and also has some good stories. I want to know about massaging a number. I want to get hardcore into this, too, because it's an art. And I know guys like ER and Alan Boston, it takes a lot of work to do that. And good breakdown from Richie coming up and get his thoughts, power-rated top 10, and the big card tomorrow. Talk UFC with Lou Finicaro as well. NFL, futures, news, rumors. Frank Schwab joins us now. He does a great job at Yahoo Schwab on X. He joins us on the Progressive Guest Line and NFL sports betting for Yahoo Sports. Good to talk to you, my friend. How you been?
Good, doing well. Just, it's like the NFL season just ended, and it really never ends. They're just clamoring for NFL news 365, yes. So
absolutely.
It's always interesting.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk to you. First off, how surprised were you what transpired in the Super Bowl, and it was a total blowout?
Yeah, I picked the Eagles. I feel good about that, but I'd be lying if I said I knew that was coming. Like, that was just ridiculous. To shut down Patrick Mahomes and that offense like they did, to embarrass them basically in the first half like they did, who could have seen that coming? I know the Eagles had a great defense all year, but you just don't do that to Mahomes and Andy Reid in a big game, especially Andy Reid on a extra week. His
right.
record on bye weeks, everybody knows it. Like, there's a reason for it. So. Very shocked. Not shocked the Eagles won, but shocked that they just dominated like they did. And now you start asking yourself questions of, is this the next dynasty? That's the youngest defense in the NFL.
Sure.
All their playmakers are locked up for the next however many years. This could be the beginning of something pretty special for the Eagles. I'll say this. I don't think they stop at one championship.
Frank, it was May 2 years ago. When you came on with Amal and I on one of the unheralded shows on VSiN History, The Nuts, as you were a weekly guest, and gave out at 35 or 40 to 1, you said bet the Eagles to win it all. And they were up 10 against the Chiefs until Hurts fumbled the ball. But you were on them then. I want to ask about, I give you your flowers there because you monetized that ticket. Now, I want to ask you about Aaron Rodgers. You were on my football preview panel last August, and you were high on the Jets. That didn't turn out. But now we continuously hear Rodgers is done there. What do you think is the best fit for both Rodgers and team?
With Rodgers, the only one that really strikes me is the Steelers. They need a quarterback. They're playoff ready. I think that if Rodgers plays like he does the last 5-6 weeks of the season, when, he said he got healthy, if we take him at his word there, I think he could be an asset to them. He's not that 4-time MVP anymore. Like, that's not him. We know that. Everybody knows that. But can he be a reasonable quarterback for a team that has a lot of pieces in place? Can he be better than Russell Wilson was over the course of last year? I think he can if he stays healthy. I think that's at least possible. So I think that's a fit. Everybody's going to talk to Raiders, and I get it, but what's the upside for Aaron Rodgers there? To go to Las Vegas and finish fourth in that division? Like, what point is there in that, other than you can keep playing football for another year? So, I don't know. The only opening that seems reasonably like it might happen that has a team that could possibly make the playoffs next year is Pittsburgh. So, for Aaron Rodgers to just grind out his last year in Tennessee going 3-14 doesn't seem that optimal for him. But we'll see.
Yeah.
With the Jets, I just don't know. What can the Jets do? I have not yet, had anybody tell me or heard or read or anything a reasonable answer to who's your week one starting quarterback. It's great. I get why they moved on from Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, there's drama involved, there's a lot of baggage, whatever. But whoever they start week one at quarterback is probably going to be worse than Aaron Rodgers. I just don't see, what are you going to draft the fourth quarterback off the board this year when none of these guys would have been drafted in the top 6 last year and plug them and play them week one? I don't know that that's your answer. I don't know if Kirk Cousins is your answer or Russell Wilson or any of these kind of washed up vets. So I think the Jets are really going to struggle this year. Yes, I was high. You're right, Mike. I appreciate that, by the way. I appreciate you pointing that out. But I just think that this team was built for 2024, and then when the wheels came off early, it's like, well, 2025 is just going to be a disaster.
Yeah, fair enough. How about Cleveland? The Garrett trade request. What do you do at quarterback? Do you draft someone? Is a bridge? You bring in a veteran? What do you think all the answers are what Cleveland can do?
Yeah, I think you have to draft somebody. Deshaun Watson, that just has to be done. He's not only a bad guy in a bad contract, but he's a bad quarterback now. He just can't play. Like he was in many metrics the NFL's worst quarterback last year. So what are you doing? What are you doing keeping that light on? And now he's got the second Achilles. Like, it's just done. You have to be done with Deshaun Watson one way or another. And so what's your next plan? And I think that when you have the second pick of the draft, and I do like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders to varying extents. I don't think either of those guys, Jaden Daniels or anything, but I think they could be good NFL quarterbacks. I think you need to take that swing when you draft. You don't want to draft top 2 every single year. Mm-hmm. So I think this is your time to at least try it out. Better than Kirk Cousins, I'll tell you that. Like, I don't think Kirk Cousins has anything left. I think a lot of these guys who are going to be in the quarterback carousel just don't have anything left. Derek Carr, if he gets free, like, what are you really getting out of that? So I don't think Garrett gets moved. I think they've already kind of said, like, look, Miles, great. We appreciate your trade request, but you're not moving anywhere, so whatever. And the Browns did make the playoffs 2 years ago with Joe Flacco quarterback. So I can't sit here and say that there's no talent on that team, but I do worry going forward that it's just a little toxic. That it just seemed like everything fell apart. You're a year older. You don't have any cap space at all. I worry, too, no matter who the Browns quarterback is, that's not going to be a pretty situation.
You know, Frank, the teams have all the control here. I mean, the players expect the franchises to live up to their contracts in the same way that the franchises expect the players. A la Jimmy Butler in Miami. If he doesn't want to play, then don't play him. If Myles Garrett doesn't want to play, then he sits out, he doesn't play, and he doesn't get paid. Why is there a fear from these franchises that they have to cave in these situations?
Yeah, I think the only downside, and I agree with you. Like, look, it stinks for Myles Garrett. It does. He's one of the premier players in the NFL. He's going to first ballot Hall of Fame, all this kind of stuff. And he's never going to win anything because Cleveland is just a dumpster fire, right? But if I'm Cleveland, I don't trade that guy. There's no way. And you're right, exactly what you said. I say, look, Myles, you can retire if you want. If that's what's going to make you happy, go ahead and retire. But we ain't trading you. It's just not going to happen. You can either play here or not play. One of the two. And there's nothing Myles Garrett can really do. And I think the one thing that the franchises worry about is just the worst possible scenario for them is a guy showing up and kind of being toxic around the locker room and not playing hard and not you're just making a scene like Jimmy Butler did. I mean, we saw that just happen now. So I don't think Myles Garrett would do that, though. I think that, look, you pay him a little bit more money. You say, here's our plan at quarterback going forward. We have a plan. The wheels came off last year. The Deshaun Watson thing didn't work. Here's our plan for how we're going to win games, Myles, and here's a few million more dollars that you deserve because you're the best defensive player in the NFL. And I think everything gets smoothed over. But you're right. I wouldn't give in. I'd just say, look, Myles, you either play here or you don't play at all.
Is there a team you like? You think some value on a future, or who could be the next Houston or Washington and come out of nowhere?
Yeah, I don't know if I think that there's anybody who's going to take that big of a leap. The Chargers obviously kind of stand out to me. I think that given Harbaugh in his second year, I didn't expect the Chargers to do anything this year. I thought it was going to take Harbaugh a year, and he just proved, no, I'm one of the 5 best coaches on the planet. Okay. Like that. And now going forward, they have a little more cap flexibility. The only problem is the Chiefs. Like, can you beat the Chiefs in the AFC West? Like, that's hard. That is really hard. I do like the Packers. They're the youngest team in the NFL 2 straight years. And at some point, you just keep maturing and you keep improving. I think the Lions take a step back without their coordinators. So I do like them too. And then one team, this is so chalky, but I think if you keep betting the Ravens every year, they're going to break through. Lamar Jackson is not going to end his career with 0 Super Bowl appearances. Like, this is going to happen some year. I thought they were the best team in the NFL by the end. Mark Andrews dropped a pass. So kind of, if you're going on the high side, it's not out there, but I think Ravens are going to be best team in football next year again, and we'll see if they can break through.
In a poll of the GMs in the NFL rating the coaching hires this year, by far number 1 was Mike Vrabel, followed by Ben Johnson and Pete Carroll third. How much impact can Vrabel have in New England? How long will it take him to get back to the playoffs?
Yeah, and I know, Mike, you like the Patriots and their upside, and I get it. I do, because Vrabel is, I don't know what Tennessee was thinking, kind of letting him lose the power struggle that he had with the front office and ownership, because Mike Vrabel got the most out of every single Titans team he had. And, yeah, it finished poorly. It did. Like, that the last year was pretty ugly for them. But That guy gets the most out of his talent, and I think he's going to get the most out of the Patriots. I do think he was the best hire of this coaching cycle because we know he's a known commodity. Like, look, Ben Johnson might be awesome. He might be the next Sean McVay, but we don't know. I know what we're getting out of Mike Vrabel. And, yes, I do think he's going to lift them. It is a tough division, especially the Bills there. But I think the Patriots will keep taking strides forward, and they just need a couple off seasons to kind of rebuild the roster.
Appreciate your time. Enjoy vacation. Thanks for a few minutes.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Frank.
Schwab, at Yahoo Schwab on X. He's with Yahoo Sports as well. Good thoughts there. And Packers 22-1 to win it all. I have to go Vrabel number one. No brainer. I mean, you get a guy who's had the 1 seed, and Tennessee's been a dumpster fire.
Remember, Frank graduated from Wisconsin.
That's right.
Okay, congratulations on the Bucks, Frank.
Richie B in studio up next. Picks, power ratings, how to massage a number, funny business in all his years doing this. When a number stinks, we'll talk to the great Richie B up next. VSiN, Follow the Money.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Great college basketball card tomorrow, getting close to the madness. Hall of Famer Richie Baccellieri in studio. Stevie the Pencil, Hall of Famer, works here at Circa, and he loves college hoops. He lives clean, he eats clean, 4 miles a day on the treadmill, lives well, and smokes 2 packs a day. How you doing, Richie? Great to see you.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys, and it's a pleasure to be here with Mike.
Thank you for taking 10 minutes away from a cigarette. I mean, it's a sacrifice.
You know, I'm always doing it with Paulie and Mitch throughout. Now I heard, so good to be here with you, especially since he's my boss.
All right, sounds good, baby. Yeah, excellent. So, how about San Jose State tonight? 18-2-1 ATS run. How about the guts on this team?
You're going to jump right into San Jose, aren't you?
Come on,
you ain't wasting no time.
Let's go.
Well, as we're talking now, the game in the last hour has gone from like 6.5, 7 up to 8. So I'm guessing the Judy and the McClendon kid are out. But you know, they were out the other night against San Diego State. The game went from like 6 to 9.5.
Right.
And you know, the dog played a great game, San Jose. Donovan Yap, the third leading scorer, he got hurt in the first half. He came back in the second half. He played great. They lose by 3. They get the money. You know, do they have the energy for another game like this? I mean, Nevada's been very up and down. They certainly don't have a great team. They might have won a few games in a row now, but who'd they beat? Air Force, Fresno. So I'm gonna see 8 on the board. I'm jumping in on it.
All valid points.
See. Well,
I mean, they were up 17 in that game, too.
You gotta wait to see a lineup. You know, when you're playing, it depends. If you're just throwing some money around and you're gonna take a shot on something, that's one thing. But you know, when you're doing this every day, you got to make sure you get the best of the number. And looks like I might see some 8.5s.
Wow.
Richie, early tomorrow, Arkansas at A&M. I've got A&M in pocket at 60-1 for the tournament. I just think they're older kids playing against a lot of teams. They're 19 and 20-year-olds, and I love buzz. But Cal and this rope-a-dope might start to be coming along here with Arkansas. Number's 8.5.
8.5. I have to look to see what I made. It seems a little high, but you know, one thing about Arkansas that I've noticed is they had some. The kid that came over from Florida Atlantic, this John L. Davis, he was kind of not really in the doghouse, but they paid the kid a lot of money, and he was riding on the bench. In the last few games, you know, he's come around. He's starting now. He's had some big games. I forgot the game they won. It was very big. I could see taking the points there in that game. I mean, A&M at 60-1 ain't bad, but you know,
nice, Mike.
It's going to be an unbelievable tournament. I mean, I'm looking at these teams. You know, when you're handicapping the bet, it's one thing. When you're handicapping to come on a show and try and talk about things, you have to look at the product differently. And man, there are some. You know, I don't see any sleeper teams getting into the 16.
You're good.
Really?
You're good friends. Vinny Maiulo and Jimmy Vaccaro down at the South Point put up an interesting prop, SEC versus the field for the national title. And when they opened it, the SEC was plus 120. Now it's a dead pick'em.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thoughts? You want the field or you want the SEC?
Well, I know that there was some money that might have come in on that prop at like plus $1.50. It's been moving around. It is a good prop. And usually the field is going to be a big favorite. I agree with that. You know, you got 3 or 4 of the best teams in the country out of the top 5 or 6, all from the SEC. You might see 2 1s and 2 2s from them.
How about 3? How about 3 1s, a couple 2s? How about 14 teams in?
I think, you know, Duke and Houston are both, you know, formidable. They'll both probably end up with 1s. I mean, well, Houston, you know, once again, there's no guarantee they win the Big 12.
They got to win tomorrow, right?
Duke should probably get through the ACC, but. Hey, you might see 2. You might see 3, but I would go with 2.
What are your thoughts on Houston, Arizona? Houston 1.5 on the road.
Yeah, made Houston a small favorite at Arizona. No opinion on it. Yeah, see, the problem is now this time of the year, the ratings get so ironed out that the numbers that I'm making are very close to the numbers on the board. It's very, very difficult to beat college basketball this time of the year for me.
What triggers a bet for you? If you have a number 5 and the number's 2. Is there a certain number of points that trigger a bet for you?
Yeah, that's the delta. The delta between my number and the number posted this time of year is about 1.5 points. So if it's 1.5 points off, I'll make a play. Early in the season, I'll go 2 points. But, it's even hard to find. It's hard to find 1.5 points right now.
Really? Even though you love the trash, like you said last week.
I love the trash, but
you get in those added games, you love that crap. And
the odds makers, they do pretty good. They do pretty good from Jump Street. Even back early November, I couldn't believe how strong the numbers were the first few days of the year. Usually they're way off.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Tonight's interesting. Besides San Jose, the UCLA Indiana game.
Very interesting. What do you think?
You guys know about what UCLA is going east. I know that. You guys are on top of everything.
Well, UCLA.
You guys are real. I'll say. I've always said it. They're real degenerates. They love to gamble. They love to put their money up, so they know all this stuff. But they went East Coast about a month or a month and a half ago. They went down to North Carolina. I think they played Wake or Clemson, something like that. They lose. Then they got to wait 2 days. They go up to Jersey and play Rutgers. Lose.
When was the tirade? When was the Cronin tirade, Mike? Is that when the Cronin?
That was it, yeah.
That was the Cronin tirade. Okay.
Well, he did it 5 times. He had 5 press conferences where he went nuts.
Okay. Traveling west to east, he's pointed out that's a tricky trip, and a lot of other teams are having problems with that. So
Sure. But what... I was going to say
UCLA is a real square side tonight.
Yeah.
They all love it because Indiana can't do no good. They win getting 11 at Michigan State, right? And now
I know, but Woodson out. That's why that's part of the handicap.
Well,
it's like let's
the problem is I made UCLA 1.5. That's the problem. You got to decide. And if I'm a degenerate, then I'm going to go in for something because I can't. I got to play.
Yeah.
But I think the side would be Indiana +2 for me if I was going to play it. I would take a shot with them. I mean, it's such a. They lose 5 in a row and they turn around and beat Michigan State. Tell me this ain't a tough sport to bet. Look at all the dogs that have won the last few days outright. Double-digit dogs.
Yep.
They were something. Indiana was something like a double-digit dog in like 9 straight games in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
Well, they had some problems. I know the Renault kid was out for a while, and I turned around. I took 8 with them against someone. I can't remember who, like a Saturday or a Sunday game. They went outright getting 8. So, look, you put your money up, you take your shots, and you hope you get the best of it. You want to at least get the best of the number. You increase your advantages. And, keep your fingers crossed and hope your team hits 1 or 2 more threes than they're supposed to.
How about coaching? Is your part of your overall rating on a team is the coaching? But do you look at individual coaching matchups in specific games? Does that move your number at all?
Not as much as it should. The coaching is certainly important. And my guy, friend of mine, Alan Boston.
It's a great question, Mike, because Boston's big into
probably
coaching.
One of the premier the premier college basketball handicapper out there, win or lose. There's nobody better. And, he looks at these matchups, and he looks at the smart coaches, and he's probably favoring the better coach by a half a point or a point. He's told me point blank, I bet on this team because I looked who was coaching the other team. That he'll go with that. Now, granted, his numbers come into play. But when you got to do as many games as you got to handicap, I mean, there's a zillion games. When you got to do those and you got a day job, you got to get in the car and you got to help out Mike and Derek with the product and the sports book. It's kind of hard. But I would look at the coaching a little bit more if I could.
Well,
and, it's funny because when I was going through some stuff for today, I was looking at the coaching. And some of these top coaches, like Pearl at Auburn, amazing. Sampson, he's won like 130 games the last 4 years.
This is the game I look at with him and Tommy Lloyd tomorrow. Because I think he's a far superior coach to Tommy Lloyd.
Yeah, well...
Tommy Lloyd gets about as much out of his talent as his boss, Mark Few, did.
I'm not sure how healthy... I'm not sure how healthy the Cryer kid is and the other kid Sharp. I know Francis came back too. I laid 9 the other night. I laid 8 and I laid 9. Can't remember who they were playing. They were up 25. And then 20, 18, 16. And the damn thing is sitting on like 12 with 40 seconds to go. And I'm like, I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose. I pulled that one out. But they weren't supposed to play.
Baylor.
Baylor.
I'm not very high on Baylor.
Your question, though, Mike, I mean, in March, when you have the short turnaround championship week and the coaching comes into play and not a lot of time to scout, I think that's a big. with the coaching edge if you have it, and to make a bet. Sports betting never slows down, neither should you. Daytona 500, 4 Nations, hockey, VSiN Pro subscription. You got the golf and MLB right around the corner. $9.99 every pick, every host, every guest. The daily email from Bill 80. Full access, $9.99, VSiN.com/subscribe. Richie, Bama, 1.5, 172 against Auburn.
Yeah, it's a hell of a game. Made Bama 1.5. No, I'm sorry. I made Bama 3. I was looking to lay 1 when I was writing down the 3. I see 1.5, but it's a cheap 1.5. I think you're going to see some Auburn money. Bama looks, to me, like they could be the best team in the country. I mean, I don't think I have them rated the highest, but I think they could be, on top.
More with Richie coming up next, the Hall of Famer. Some great stories about the young people can't get off the screen. The Billy Walters head fake, all his years working for the Maloofs at the Palm. Straight ahead, VSiN Follow the Money, Sirius XM Channel 158. More with Richie B.
Got a good thing coming, just wait and see. It's a good.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We roll on with Hall of Famer Richie Baccellieri, Stevie the Pencil. Lives clean. He's living the American dream here at Circa. And you've been doing this since '86. And I tell you, there's a lot of shenanigans here lately. You always got to be on your toes. How many stories do you have, or one that sticks out of all your years doing this about this doesn't smell right? This guy doesn't know what he's doing. He wants to bet a ton of money on a game. He doesn't know about the juice. This is bizarre.
Well, everything's face-to-face years ago. There was no online. There was no mobile. So you got to look at people when they came in. You got a little sense of what they were doing, how they spoke, what they were wearing, how they pulled their money out, if it was in wraps, if it was in rubber bands, if it wasn't. So you got a little bit more than what you get today, where you just get an anonymous guy on the mobile app that says Joe Smith, who could be betting for anybody. So years ago, at Caesars, Northwestern had a little problem, I think, with maybe somebody was throwing some games on the basketball team, but it was involved some football players, and I took a pretty sizable bet, plus minus 25 on like Notre Dame against Northwestern, like they were just going to tank, and we took like 30,000, which was a big college bet back then, but. It's again, you get a sense of things, and you know whether somebody's a pro or somebody's gambling. There weren't a lot of outlets either. There weren't a lot of places you can get down, 30,000, 20,000 on a game. So we give the guy the bet, and you move the line. Once again, you're aggressive. You're not just moving it a half a point. Maybe you move it a point and a half, and see what happens. Some might call it massaging the number. Yeah, I know you like that term, yes. Mr. Spring Mountain over here, massaging the number. Come on, that's all right. Nobody knows what it means. So we took right away. You took sharp money back, so you knew, and you took sharp money at 3 dimes or 5 dimes, and you come back down slow, and the guy's just playing. So I don't know, 6 months later, 3 months later, sure. You get people coming in the office, the casino manager, maybe this guy from this 3-letter organization, and they want to know why you take that bet. And you go, that's what we do. We take bets. And as it turned out, I think the kicker was in on some kind of scam with the players, and they were trying to throw the game. But come like 19, so I got the money.
There you go.
And what are you going to do?
Incredible. I mean, I love these stories. And even Alan Boston was at the counter with the Mirage thing with Arizona State. Yeah. And the guy's like, can I get $500,000 on the basketball game? I don't care what the number is. And like, what? Who is this guy? And then Boston's betting the other side. The guy's coming in for $500,000. I mean, it's just madness.
Yeah, I was at the MGM. That was like the 1994, late 93 or early 94. And they were playing with us at the MGM, and we were putting them down for 10 dimes. But as soon as you moved at a half a point, it was like 12.5 one of the games, the first game or the second game. We go to 13. Sharp guys come right up and gobble it, the 13, or vice versa, whichever way it was. And so they come back to the window for another 10 dimes. Maybe a different guy, but you could see him standing out in the room. And you move it again, the sharp guys come in. So now there's something going on here, because that doesn't happen. And sure enough, they were tanking, they were dumping, and the sharp guys pretty much, they're always the first ones to know.
Unbelievable.
That's why they're the sharp guys.
Yeah. Well, how about this discussion we had off air last week? How frustrating is it, and the art there is to, I'm going to bet a game, but I'm going to do a head fake early in the morning and come back when the limits are high before. And is it also frustrating? Because you said something about the younger generation stares at the screen all day.
Yeah, well, the phoning up the games is not something that's new. It was going back even to the Stardust days when they do their lotteries on Sunday nights. There were a few masters of the phonies. People that control the market. They're the ones. I got a toothpick sticking out of my ear. No one wants to tell me. Let me do with a toothpick. People that control the market. They have the best ability to do this. They can turn a football 4 into a football 7 in like 10 minutes time. Cost you $50,000 or $100,000, but that's chump change when it comes to betting college. Big time college football comes Saturday. Now it's happening, but it's happening for different reasons. It's happening because sports books are typically booking their openers early in the morning, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Pacific time, for a dime or two. And, I'm referring to college basketball now. So when you're watching the screen all morning like I do, you could see it. You could spot it pretty good. And I people sometimes they jump in too early. They try and bet, they try and push it back down. Let the number go. Let them keep betting it if you can spot it. And maybe that's what you're referring to, is people jumping in too early. And sometimes I'm guilty of it too. I want 7, and then 10 minutes later it's 7.5. So, but it's part of the game. As a bookmaker, you shouldn't really care. You should just write bets both sides and move the number and identify which side is sharp and which side's square or whatever, who's following.
Okay, so what do you think of screen scrapers or board cleaner-uppers?
Well, I don't those terms are new to me. That's a young man. You're a young man using those terms. You just got guys scalping and playing middles, and they're following the original number. And it depends on the sport. It depends on the bet. But if you're talking about a major sport and a point spread, I think you got the best of it with a follower, but you might not have the best of it on the original number. So you got to write the second number. That's your guy lays you 6. If you go to 6.5 or 7, you want to write a bet on that second number. That's the whole key. The whole key is writing business both ways. And juice is amazing. You never penciled anything out probably the way a football game. This guy bet 2,200 to win 2,000, and this guy bet, 4,400 to win 4,000. Well, in instances like that, the house is getting like $1.33 on a game when you're writing 2-1. When you're writing 4-3 business, the house is taking 2-1, and it's all just been penciled out math, and you got to write business. The number eventually will settle, and when that number does settle, that's when you write your most business. And that that's the philosophy. That's what Circa does. Mm-hmm. That's what Circa does that on Sunday without all the words, all the language that I just said. They might have some terms for it, but they're writing business and they're looking for a number. And when they get to that number, then they feel pretty comfortable at writing large bets.
You've been doing this since '86. Your thoughts on the industry now? And I know you didn't want to come on the show when we were involved with DraftKings. What do you think of the industry now?
Well, I honestly, since I grew up in this business, I do feel like it's my business. I grew up in this business. And, DraftKings and the FanDuels of the world, they come in thinking they own everything and they know everything, and I'm not a big fan of it. Thank God for books like Circa, books like Pinnacle. They're still around. I mean, these are guys bookmaking. They're looking to earn. They're looking to hold some money. They're not looking to take it all. Look, you never want to tap a guy out in a day. You want to grind them out over a period of time. You want to let the guy keep playing. And in order to keep playing, you got to give him something to play. You got to give him a bet. You got to give him a fair money line straddle. You got to give him a fair future. You might even have to give him a drink or two. And I know JB does that all the time because I see it in the tweets. Come on in, I'll buy you a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
That's an old school practice in an online world. I love that.
Yeah.
Because that's the secret of success right now is you got to bring in the old school practices. So let people play and things are going to turn all right. Jimmy used to say, look, put it all in a big whatever and just stir it up. And at the end of the day, you get to keep what comes out. So that's the way you should do it.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Oh, very good.
Well,
Do you anything you like as far as the future, Mr. Toothpick?
It's funny. I was looking at the Circa futures. I don't normally look at a lot of stuff going on with futures, but they got the two ways here. So if you don't like the yes price, especially on the short ones, the 5-1s, the 6-1s, you could turn around and play the no, and that keeps the yes price a little bit more in line. I mean, that's a good thing. So, I don't know. I don't really have too many. I think that St. Mary's on here, 125-1. When you're talking about ratings, and I did look at some of these, I got St. Mary's rated, my numbers, at like a 62. When you compare it to Auburn, who's Duke 69, Auburn 68.5.
Yeah.
Houston 68.
Okay.
Now you're talking about a 6-point dog against those top-tier teams. So before you get into the Final Four, where you would have to play two of them, now it's only a 2.5 point dog. St. Mary's in the 8 or the 16 game.
So you think St. Mary's is a 6-point dog, 6-point dog to Duke or to?
Well, 7 to Duke probably, even though I have 6.5.
On a neutral.
Yeah, neutral. Yeah.
So you've got St. Mary's rated pretty high.
I've got St. Mary's rated pretty good, and it's not because I'm bumping them up because of their strength in the conference. Because they don't, I don't even think they have their ATS is like maybe 50-50. So yeah, I think St. Mary's is real good. Randy Bennett. I mean,
yeah, it might get a 6 or 7 seed. Quickly, what do you think of Drake? Top 30?
Well,
Top
Drake.
25?
We were just looking at Drake, and they got some good non-conference wins, and the win against Kansas State may not have looked good.
Good point.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
But now this is the hottest team in basketball.
All right, thank you. I'll see you at Spring Mountain. You're the man. Richie Baccellieri, Hall of Famer. Uncle Lou Finicaro.
Happy Valentine's Day. No.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day, Kate, if you're listening.
All right, a shout out. Lou Finicaro up next.
And we're out.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I need to load funds into my gaming apps.